All right, so I talk a lot about what's happening in America, Federal Reserve, banking, all that crap. And I definitely do my fair share of stuff in the EU, following that crap too. Italy, Greece, the poor people of Greece. Somebody emailed me the other day. He goes, Joe, um, hit the contact button on realistnews.net. Said, hey, send me your email. I want to send you a picture. I think I found you, something like, I think I see you in Greece. One of the people in Greece or something. I'm like, what is he talking about? So I said, send it here. He sends me a picture of a guy. It does look a little bit like me. I guess he's like a news commenter or something in Greece, like on TV, He goes, that's you over here. It's kind of funny. But speaking of over there, EU, etc., which, as you've heard, I'm sure today, which is yesterday, the Queen of England has signed off and yada, 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 and Brexit, it's pretty much a done deal. It's pretty much a done deal. And let's not forget, when the first country goes, some others will follow. And as soon as you have more than one country leaving, number one, already forget more than one. The second you have one country leaving a bloc, the EU, it's over. Right now, the amount of money that the ECB is basically printing and dumping over there to keep it all afloat, it's never ending. It just keeps going. Brexit, London, the UK, we're out of here. Good job. Very good job for you guys. Everyone else, you're going to be last out the door. And you know what the old saying is? Well, doesn't matter if you're slower than the fastest, what is that saying? As long as you're faster than the slowest person. That may not apply over there in EU. You don't have to be the second or third last one to leave. Trust me, when that thing starts crumbling, Italy have to be out probably by force because they're not going to be able to deal with their banking crisis. ECB is not going to exactly help them, so they're going to be on their own. France, you got this lady, Le Pen. The polls have shifted in her favor slightly. Of course they have. Don't pay attention to the polls anyways. This is another Donald Trump over there. She's going to take it over. I said it. I don't care what the news says. We don't care what the poll says. She should win. If she doesn't win, I will be raising the BS flag on that one. Because the people have had enough. And what did she say too? We will be leaving the EU as well. So you can count Italy most likely. Absolutely France if she gets in there. On top of Brexit already happening. Again, the days are numbered. And I do find it fascinating when that old guy, David Wilkerson, the prophet dude, whatever, where he said a lot of the stuff would happen and you'd watch the EU, watch over there. When the euro goes, when that thing goes, you're going to have weeks to get your stuff in order over here. And you could already say, well, it's kind of going. What happened to $1.32 euro to one US dollar? Remember the old ratio? $1.32 for a euro versus a dollar, our dollar. It cost us $1.32 to earn one of their dollars in America. Now it's slightly a little bit different. Our dollar was, and I haven't looked in the last couple of weeks or so, but our dollar was actually a little bit more powerful or higher than theirs. What? You could chalk that off alone as, hey, I think that might be what this guy was talking about. No, it's just the beginning, trust me. So that's happening. You got a country leaving. How could that currency remain strong when the different countries are saying we're leaving, we're going to be leaving too? Oh, if I get voted in, we're leaving too. Oh, and by the way, our central bank, even without us leaving yet, is printing money out of control to keep things afloat over here. And they haven't slowed down. So speaking of that part of the pond, Wolf Richter, his website, ECB trapped in its own, I love this term, doom loop as inflation surges. These last few days I've been talking about these videos how things can't even keep up with inflation. You add inflation to it and we're like negative on certain things. Like, it's horrible. But let's raise rates. Perfect time to raise rates, right? Trying to keep a financial system and a currency union from collapsing upon each other. To the ECB, which is European Central Bank, barely contained glee, inflation is back, alive, kicking and biting in the Eurozone. In February, for the first time in 4 years, the region-wide 12-month inflation rate reached 2%. Mario Draghi is thrilled to bits. After 5 years of driving interest rates to ungodly lows, offering billions of euros of virtually free loans to Europe's biggest banks and scooping up tens of billions of euros per month of government and private sector bonds and stuffing them into the ECB's balance sheet, which now holds, by the way, are you ready for this? 3.7 trillion euros of financial assets. He has finally achieved his dream of stoking official inflation back above 2%. Now that it's achieved its inflation mandate, Draghi's ECB is facing increasing calls to finally begin tempering its monetary stimulus program, with a pre-electoral Germany predictably leading the way. Quote, it would probably be right if the ECB starts daring to head for the exit this year, Germany's finance minister, Mr. Schäuble, told I'm going to pronounce it, newspaper. That was in January, when inflation in Germany was still below the 2% mark. It's now at 2.2%, its highest rate since August 2012. In Germany, inflation matters a great deal for two main reasons. First, it is a nation of savers and renters. If inflation rises, so too do rents, while the purchasing power of the people's savings falls. And if wages cannot rise as fast as inflation, purchasing power of those wages shrinks. Where have I heard this before? Oh, another Western world country. It's called the USA. You see high rates lately? Rental rates? I got home today. We went for a little walk around our neighborhood. Wife and kids, all of us, we went over. Let's go for a little walk. My foot's been feeling pretty good lately. Do a little walk around. On the way back, that's what the boys, the homeschool boys that we moved in here knew and played with. The kids played with them and stuff. There's still a sign out front for rent. Man, they've been gone for like a month and a half. Evelyn, have you seen any cars even like showing up to look at this thing? 'Cause, she's home all day. No, I haven't actually. And I haven't seen any myself on the weekends, which would be prime time, That's strange. She goes, well, they're asking like over, I think, $1,800 or something for rent. And it's one of these rental companies that bought, cheap assets and now rent them out. And I guess they've been smoking some hopium. Because in this neighborhood and everywhere else, like I said, when the Section 8 things, 3 or 4 of them that are here, there ain't no sign going up. The day someone leaves, they're in there cleaning, someone's in there cleaning, replacing carpet, and the other people are moving in. So that you wouldn't even notice anything happening. Like, one family just moved out, and a new family was out. Are you guys related? Oh, no, we're new people. Oh, right. Oh, that's right, Section 8. We're going to subsidize so they get, gotcha, that's why they're in so fast. There's a massive waiting list. But when you get a company over here that's not doing that and is, quote unquote, doing the right thing, just renting it, no subsidized here, none of that. But I want to bring riffraff in for the poor people around the neighborhood. I'll leave it normal. In other words, let someone who can afford it pay for it. With this silly mindset of, I'm going to charge $1,800 a month. Are you out of your mind? Are you smoking hopium? Apparently, yes. Time for a little sip. Hang on. So, secondly, and probably most importantly, the mere prospect of inflation tends to stir painful collective memories of what happened in 1923, when the country suffered one of the worst episodes of hyperinflation ever recorded. In less than a year, Germany's currency became worthless. Poverty and hardship spread like wildfire as the value of people's savings and fixed incomes was completely wiped out. The psychological scars of this collective trauma live on to this day, when in May 2012, Schäuble and Bundesbank economist chief Jens Ulbricht suggested the country could live with slightly higher inflation. At the time, it was just above 2%. The daily tabloid Bild screamed an immediate response from its front page: "Inflation alarm!" Accompanying the headline was a photo of a trillion-mark note from the mid-1920s. This time, in an effort to head off such fears, the Bundesbank has begun dropping gentle hints that the ECB might want to begin changing course sooner or later. Quote, once price developments are sustained, they will provide the foundation for an exit from loose monetary policy, said Jens Weidmann, the Bundesbank's president. The ECB's expansionary monetary policy path is currently appropriate, given the still moderate inflation in the 19-country region, he added. That was at the end of January. Since then, inflation has continued to rise throughout the Eurozone. In Spain, it was 3% in both January and February, having almost doubled from the 1.6% rate recorded just a few months ago in December of 2016. That is a large increase in a short amount of time, folks. The last time it was that high was in October of 2012. The biggest mover in January were energy prices, propelled by rising global prices, as well as regulatory changes, while in February the biggest driver was food prices, with fresh fruit alone surging 7.6%. Oh, but central banks and whatnot, we don't like looking at that. Energy, food, we don't look at that to figure out inflation. No. We'll look at what it costs to build a cardboard box. Cardboard boxes are showing that they're becoming cheaper lately, so we need to let inflation kick in a little bit better. Cardboard boxes are a little bit on the low side right now. Are you kidding or are you serious? No, we're serious. Shouldn't you be looking at energy, electricity, food, that old chestnut? No, we don't want to look at that. Why? Because it would show there's tons of inflation. Exactly. In Belgium, the inflation rate is now also on the verge of breaking through the 3% mark. In the Netherlands, the inflation was just 1.8% in February. In France and Finland, it was 1.2%, and in Portugal, 1.6%. Even in Italy, whose economy is still threatened by an industry-wide banking crisis, inflation reached 1.6% in February. 4 months ago, it was minus 0.1%. So minus 0.1% to positive 1.6% in a blink of an eye. But the last thing Italy's government or national central bank wants is for the ECB to begin withdrawing the monetary stimulus. If the ECB stops buying Italian bonds, who will pick up the slack? The answer, of course, is nobody. Nobody's going to buy a turd. You can't polish a turd. So the ECB, you're going to buy the turds. Federal Reserve, $80 billion a month. Remember that for lasted 2 years? You're going to buy the turds from all the banks. And not only are you going to buy them, you're going to give them 100 cents on the dollar. No discount whatsoever. Give them what they're worth. Yeah, but a lot of these houses are junked, breaking down, foreclosure. It doesn't matter. 100 cents on the dollar. Who else would have bought them? Nobody. Federal Reserve had to. And over there, that's what's happening right now. This may explain why Bank of Italy Governor Ignazio Visco is now warning of higher risks for the Eurozone resulting from the accentuation of a climate of uncertainty and pessimism. In January, he urged the ECB to maintain the highly accommodative monetary conditions to ensure price stability by fueling rising prices. No, I think he urged the ECB to maintain the highly accommodative monetary conditions because they're buying the bonds from Italy. Banks. And the banks are insolvent as insolvent can possibly be. So we need someone to buy these bonds from us badly. Visco has every reason to be concerned of a change of ECB policy. If the central bank begins tapering and investors get wind that it is buying fewer Italian bonds, investors will begin selling, triggering downward spiraling prices and rising yields. In a repeat of 2012, Italy's government will start having difficulty servicing its debt, just like it did, which will merely serve to exacerbate the sell-off, i.e. a stampede. Despite the ECB's quantitative easing program, the biggest holders of sovereign bonds are still European resident banks, reports Bruegel. In other words, the doom loop is still intact, just waiting to be set in motion. In fact, by providing banks with an endless supply of virtually free money with which to buy up obscene amounts of Eurozone sovereign bonds, which till now have been backstopped by the ECB's quantitative easing program. The ECB has only amplified the incestuous co-interdependence between sovereigns and their banks. Hence, a sovereign debt crisis instantly becomes a banking crisis. In Italy, the government now is seeking to expand its own debt in order to bail out Monte dei Paschi di Siena, the big bank I told you about, in a clutch of mid-sized banks whose balance sheets are no doubt filled with Italian government bonds. In the end, the ECB's policy isn't just about creating inflation, but about keeping a financial system and a poorly conceived currency union from collapsing upon each other. And now they are more dependent than ever on the constant drip feed of monetary stimulus. Although I'm going to tell you, it's no drip feed. It's a hose that's pushing out quite a bit of water, so to speak. It ain't no drip. There ain't no drip feed here, unless the drops are of a giant living in the clouds, and I had to climb a beanstalk up there and got to see the size of the drops that are like human size. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, yeah, that's a drip for sure, if you follow me. One other thing. Are collapsing pensions about to bring hell to America? Zero hedge. Along with the student loan debt bubble and other major financial factors, the looming pensions crisis is about to be the death of all of us, because it's based on a future promise to pay. It has long been a benefit dangled to solve strikes and union disputes, because in the end, it's just more debt, whether private or public. With tens of trillions of unfunded liabilities, the weight of an avalanche remains dangling over our heads. An aging population is cashing in on the needed retirement benefits, while the younger generations must support multiples that are unsustainable financially. Somewhere between the retiree that needs clothing, food, and lodging and the bankruptcy of cities and state governments is the makings of the next economic crisis. Via againstcronycapitalism.org, this is one of those things that few will pay attention to. It's a five-alarm fire. Then the policymakers will run around with their hands in the air saying they didn't see it coming. Of course they did. But addressing the problem is hard and will make people unhappy in the short term. This blog pointed out the sad and quiet fact that entities like the government of South Carolina are deep in debt over pensions. Everywhere there are failing social systems, and somewhere the rubber is going to meet the road and people are going to get hurt. In 2014, a new federal law made it possible for pension funds to cut benefits to their recipients. In October 2015, the canary in the coal mine fell over and died when Illinois announced that the state was postponing pension payments because it ran out of money. Fast forward a few more months, and remember the lottery system. We're not paying out anyone who won the lottery, Illinois. We'll back pay you when we get there, but right now we need the money. We don't have to pay you. You're not getting your lottery winnings. Remember that one? I covered that for you. Unbelievable. Fast forward a few months and things have been taken to the next level. The Central State Pension Fund in Kansas became the first such fund to take advantage of the 2014 law, as 400,000 Americans who depend on their monthly pension income to pay for such things as their mortgage, groceries, and medical expenses saw an average of $1,400 per month sliced off their monthly benefits. Unfortunately, there may be no avoiding some very painful lapses in checks in the difficult years ahead, as MarketWatch reports. But take a look at South Carolina's government pension plan, which covers roughly 550,000 people, 1 out of 9 state residents, but it's a staggering $24.1 billion in the red. This is not a distant concern, but a system already in crisis. Younger workers are being asked to do much more to support the pensions of the retirees. An analysis by the Post and Courier of Charleston noted recently that government workers and their employers have seen 5 hikes in their pension plan contributions since 2012, and that's no end in sight. There's no end in sight. Most now contribute 8.66% of their pay versus 6.5% before the changes. At the same time, the pension fund has been chasing more stocks and alternative investments instead of relying on stable investments like bonds that have been much less volatile but generate only meager returns. And if that's not untroubling enough, South Carolina's pension fund is far from alone. Yep, California's CalPERS public retiree system is notoriously underfunded and doomed to implode, Chicago, Detroit, and other urban wastelands are sagging under abysmal debt. Dallas, Texas pensions went insolvent. Puerto Rico is nothing but a propped-up holding corp, or corpse, as he says. So that's where we're at. So you're asking the new people who are promised pensions, you're going to have to put 8.6%, 66% in. Yeah, but I thought we used to put in 6.5%. Yeah, you did. So that the people who have already retired continue getting theirs. But they don't have to add to this, do they? No, of course not. They don't have a job anymore. They're retired. This extra is for them and a little bit for you, but the real truth is it's not any for you. That little extra you're putting in is going completely to them. And by the time you're that age to not even close to the age to even think about retiring, you're going to realize that it's gone and insolvent anyways. We just hope you don't realize that now. We hope you're stupid. We hope you listen to the mainstream media and the experts they bring on from Princeton, Harvard, and Yale to tell you everything's going to be all right. Ooh, child, everything's going to be all right until it's not. Take care.